Thank you very much, honorable members. Let me take this opportunity to welcome you and the, the department for today's meeting. I hope everybody is well. And thanks to honorable members for the processing of the legislation yesterday and the overwhelming support that the bill got in the House, and we don't take for granted your support, honorable members. It was for the good cause, and we thank you, all political parties, for supporting the bill. And our thanks goes to the drafters of the bill itself. Indeed represented the views of our people, what is needed to change the life of our people for the better. And our thanks goes to the Kwezi, the drafter of the legislation. And even if it's no longer with us, we want to say thank you very much on behalf of all of us, because the bill got the overwhelming support from our people and from members of parliament. It shows that we are in the right direction towards making sure that our sector become the best. Thank you very much. With those words, I welcome you all and request that we observe a moment of silence for meditation or prayer. Thank you very much. Koliswa, can we note the apologies?
Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, members, and good morning to our guest. Before I note apologies, Chairperson, I think we also need to thank the parliamentary staff for being available to be on the public hearings throughout the country and supporting the bill as well. I've received an apology, Chairperson, from the Minister of Human Settlements, and Ms. Powell and Mr. Heron. They are not able to be part of the meeting today. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Koliswa. Koliswa, we're thanking those that are not paid to do their job. So you have been paid to do your job, and therefore that's why I've mentioned Kwezi alone, because it's no longer with us. If she was, I was not going to mention him, because we have been paid to do these things. That's why I said political parties, not members of the committee, because it's through the political parties that made us to support this bill, because we have convinced them as members. So, so members of the staff, it's their job. You cannot thank the fish to swim. It's its duty to swim. On the lighter note, today's agenda, honorable members, we are getting the briefing on the on the second quarter and the third quarter of the progress of the department in implementing their APP. I'm going to ask members to adopt the agenda. Can I get the mover for the adoption of the agenda? Thank you, Ms. Fry. You're moving, Maria. Your network is very bad.
Seconded, Chair.
Malachi seconded. Ms. Fry, your network is very bad. You're going to have difficulty to participate.
Let me try the other side, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, no, thank you very much. I'll now invite the DM. I've seen her. DM, you're welcome. You can then lead us on the presentation.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair.
I
Good morning,
receive
Chair.
it. I receive it in the name of Jesus.
I will close. I wanted you to see me, then I'll close because of the network, Chair. Thank you very much, Chairperson. Greetings to all members of the Portfolio Committee and Acting Director General, Ms. Sindisiwe Ngqongo, the DDGs that are present here today and all officials present. Let me start by thanking you, Chairperson, for giving us the support and processing the bill. And we watched the debates yesterday in Parliament. They were so good, and we are proud of you and all members of Parliament. I know that you've been supporting us all the way in terms of making sure that the bill is passed, and I want to thank you for that. Chairperson, as requested, Department of Human Settlements is here today to brief the committee on the 2nd July to September 2022 and 3rd October to December 2022 quarter reports. The department demonstrated a steady improvement in overall performance against approved targets in the different programs between the two consecutive quarters. In quarter two, a 62% performance was registered, increasing by 9% to 71% share in quarter three. Expenditure was at 42% in quarter two, increasing to 68% at the end of the quarter three. The trend here, Chair, is expected to continue and reflect positively in the fourth quarter. The number of departments' targets are dependent on the performance of provinces and municipalities. We're struggling a bit, Chair. We had a min-mac over the weekend, and in terms of municipalities utilizing their funds, and we're trying our best. And today we're going to have a meeting of all the MMC for human settlements and also the MSCs for human settlements to push them to utilize the money, because the end of the municipalities is June. So we want to make sure that they utilize the money. We're going to have the meeting in the afternoon of all of them to ensure that the reports are the true reflection of what is happening on the ground. The department does not update its records without a portfolio of evidence reflecting what is reported. We make sure, Chair, these days, because we don't want to listen only to what we're hearing from the officials. We go over the weekend, not weekend, day before yesterday, we went to KZN to check, and all the flats that are built in KZN, I think we will invite to Chair. We saw something very, very improved work in KZN, and of the people now are shifted from where they were in the disaster, are now accommodated in the TRUs, and we are planning to build permanent houses. So we will be inviting the committee when we are launching the flats, the handover of the flats to the owners. So you might find that bulk of the targets which are reported as partially achieved have actually, Chair, been completed, but the portfolio of evidence has not yet been received to complete the process. In here, Chair, some targets, including the number of title deeds registered, were not submitted on time by some provinces due to poor planning. I think it delayed us a bit, the change of leadership in some provinces, like in Mangaung, in Free State, there was a change of leadership, and I still have to hand over title deeds. I'm waiting for them to come back to me, because I promised committee that they called us to say they have number of title deeds which are close to 2,000, and I'm waiting from them now that the stability. At least yesterday they deployed the MECs. So, and we will wait from them to go back to Free State and make sure that we fast track the issue of title deeds. With that, the true reflection is expected to reflect in the last quarter report. The quarter report will have a proper, because we are still grappling with the municipalities to push them to make sure that they use the money. And I think on the last quarter report, you'll see something which is good than the presentations that we are going to present. Though we've done our best, Chair, you'll see when we are reporting. Chair, the department also came to realization that some of the targets were a little too ambitious. Perhaps more time should have been allocated. To cite one example, only 4 of 6 affordable housing program agreements for mining communities had been developed at the end of the quarter 3. This was due to overextended resources in the unit due to consultation processes. An issue which has since been addressed internally, the department continues to explore options of reducing red tape and improving turnaround times. As we said, we promised when Minister joined this department, you remember, members of the portfolio committee, that we focus on blocked project to unblock them. The mud houses, we reported in the committee that we are fast tracking the issue of mud houses. Though there is a backlog now because of disaster, but we are pushing, trying our best to make sure that we chase the backlog. The reports tabled on the committee today will provide a view of both financial and non-financial performance to avoid monies going back to Treasury at the end of the financial year. The department once more had to move unspent funds from non-performing provinces to municipalities to support those who demonstrated that they have active projects that could use a boost. I know that you've been fighting and with us, not maybe a lack of a better word, Chair, you've been advising us, not fighting, that you don't want monies to be taken, and because the ordinary people do suffer when we take money, but to avoid money that will go to Treasury, we have no choice rather than taking the money to provinces that are in need of the money. We remain hopeful that this doesn't become norm as it affects the delivery of services to the people that need money most. Chair, definitely, I don't want to take time and narrate what is in the presentation without taking more of the committee's time, Chair. Let me hand over to the acting DG and her team, and acting DG will introduce people that are here, and acting G will take us through the performance report of the second and third quarters of the 2022-2023 financial year. I thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister. Good morning, Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee and honorable members, colleagues. I am accompanied by the DDG's ministry and also DG's office in this meeting. Can I please ask for the assistant for somebody to flag the presentation?
Makazidibane. Silusi zonke.
Hello, DG.
Yes,
Who
ma'am.
should you assist? Because you are a co-host.
Okay, okay. Let me ask Milile, can you please assist in the teacher's office? This gadget will not do justice for me that I'm using here.
Dishi, is Milile in our in
Teacher's
this
office
session?
from Cape Town.
Can Milile
Should be here.
do fast? Don't waste time of the end of the parliament. Please, Milile,
Mr.
fly to
Kraba is supposed to be here.
Morning, Chairperson and Acting DG and colleagues. We're just having a bit of a problem with load shedding here. Ms. Pasia is gonna flag it quickly. That's why I was struggling even to join. Yes, but I've spoken with Ms. Pasia. She's assisting us.
Thank you. Thank you. Can we go to slide number 3, please? The next slide. Thank you. The purpose of our presentation is to present our Q2 and Q3 performance of the department to the portfolio committee. Chairperson, the section on the departmental budget structure, I will skip it. This talks to how our department is being structured in terms of the budget structure. I will take the presentation also as read, and I will go straight to slide number 9. Slide number 9, just briefly, Deputy Minister has already covered this one. And what is reflecting is an improvement from Q2 performance from 62% to 71% in Q3. The next slide. On this slide, I'm highlighting on the first block of Q2 that we had 37 approved targets. We achieved 23%, and we did not achieve the 14. They were partially achieved, and that is where our 62% comes from. And on the far right, we had 35 targets on Q3, 25 were achieved, partially achieved 1, and 1 was not achieved, and that gives us the 71%. Next slide. This slide has already been covered by Deputy Minister. Next slide, please. Next slide, these are the targets in terms of the administration, which is program 1, where we had on Q2, we had 7 targets, and we achieved 57% on those targets. You will see there, Chairperson, the implementation of the approved internal audit plan for Q1 and Q2 was achieved. I'm not going to read all of them. And then the target on execution of approved anti-fraud and corruption implementation plan was not approved for Q2, but there was an improvement in Q3. The target was achieved. Next slide. Next slide, on our risk management, we took a little dive there, because on Q3, that target was not achieved, but this has since been corrected. And on the implementation of human resources, there was an improvement from Q2 to Q3, as 100% of our actions on the human resource plan were achieved in Q3. Next slide. ICT, both targets were achieved on both quarters. And then let me just speak to the last one, which is the unqualified audit opinion with no material findings. We have this target for the first quarter, for the second quarter in all the years. Chairperson, let me then go to slide number 15. Slide number 15, let me just summarize here that the assessment, the quarterly assessment that we conduct on our human settlements grants, this is a consistent performance for Q2 and Q3. All those targets were achieved. It goes, they are also covered on slide number 16. I must indicate that this assessment of the performance on our grant, it assists the department to see if the sector, which is both the metros and the provinces, whether they will be able to use the funds that have been allocated to them in terms of the grants. And also this will give us an indication whether the grants are indeed used for the intended purposes. That's why we do the assessment. And also lastly, that there is value for money for all those grants. This has been a consistent achievement. Slide number 7. Slide number 7 on Q3, we always have to have the human settlements grants framework draft developed for the next financial year. This is our procedure manual on how to use the grants. And also in these frameworks, they spell out the goals and outputs and the responsibilities for both the department and the recipients, and then also covers the conditions per grant. This target was also achieved, Chairperson. Next slide, please. Then in summary, Chairperson, on our program 1, we achieved 57% for Q2, and we achieved 83% for Q3. That is an improvement that we had. It's just the slides that I had just gone through. Then we get to our core business from slide number 18. On slide number 18, we had one target, which was in terms of the integrated a report on integrated implementation program for priority development areas. We know that the PDAs, this is where we are delivering the integrated delivery on human settlements and programs. And we are not alone in that space. We also have got the responsibility from all other sector departments. That target was only for Q2, which was achieved. And the target that we did not achieve is on the PDAs, Chairperson. If I can put all of them together from slide number 18 and slide number 19. We were not able to achieve all these targets, Chairperson, in terms of the PDAs. We have to rely on our stakeholder departments in terms of also making sure that we attract the right investments that we had planned for on these PDAs. One of the elements on slide number 19 that I can also elevate, which is also part of the MTSS target, is the rezoning of the previously land that was acquired by the sector. I must indicate, Chairperson, that we are prioritizing this rezoning of the land in the next financial year, which is the last financial year of the current MTSF. including all the other MTSF targets that we are not achieving them, to have a recovery plan. That is the current implementation plan for the sector as a whole, emanating also from the MINMEC of last week in Durban. Slide number 20. On slide number 20, Honorable Chairperson, this is the program on our human settlements planning and development. It covers the research and also policy, which is part of the core business of the department. And without reading all the policies that we have achieved as planned on slide number 20, I must indicate that this is core business of the department, and we were able also to achieve the targets on Q2 and Q3 as reflected from page 20 to page 22. Some of those reports on the draft procurement policy for housing and human settlements that were developed, just to highlight a few. And also the CS report is compulsory for us when we draft policy, that we have to go through that process. On slide number 21, if Chair, I can just elevate the CS report on rent to buy program, and also the next one on small scale rental policy program. If I can move then to slide number 23. Slide number 23, the Q3 report target on the inception report on the economic impact study that we intended to do. This target, Chairperson, was not approved. Let me indicate here that we need to have the economic impact study completed and done on our program on human settlements and programs, because we need to get an independent view on how economically our sector is contributing to the economy of the country. So the plan here was to source the services of a service provider. But why this target was not achieved, Honorable Chairperson, let me indicate that this is linked to the court decision where the Minister of Finance was taken to court on the triple BEE. And then at some point, the National Treasury then instructed all of us not to appoint any service providers. And later that was uplifted. But when it was uplifted, also there was a condition that all the departments, we must seek the exemption from the Department of National Treasury. But because there were so many exemptions requests, the volume was too high for the Department of Finance to respond on time. So based on that delay, then we could not achieve this target. On the next slide. On the next slide, the entities' performance that we monitor, we analyze. This also has been a consistent achievement for Q2 and Q3. That one was achieved. Chairperson, the next target is the one that also we have been battling with in terms of the monitoring report on the set aside on the designated groups. Because not all the sectors, both in provinces and municipalities, are able to give us all the verified data. This is the target that we are putting more energy in terms of making sure that we do get to achieve this target, so that we can see what is economic transformation is being received by the target group. The next slide. From slide number 25, this is the monitoring target. In this current financial year, Chairperson, we have separated the current targets that we have on the business plans, and also we have introduced the monitoring of the block projects as one of the priorities. and also the reporting on the MTSF sector indicators. All these three targets were achieved for both Q2 and Q3. When we go to the next slide, which is slide number 26. Slide number 26 for Q3, Chairperson, the draft evaluation study was not completed in terms of the operational capital program. That is a requirement of the Department of DPME. I must indicate, Chairperson, also here is that it's the same reason that I alluded to in terms of the appointment of the service providers as guided by the National Treasury. Let me move then to slide number 27. Slide number 27, this is the target on our informal settlements program. For Q2 and for Q3, both targets were achieved. That is in relation to the support that we provide to the 9 provinces for the planning and upgrading of informal settlements. I must indicate, Chairperson, that the support that we provide here does include the support in terms of the business plan processes, which we have seen the improvement, and which informal settlements also are to be upgraded. We can also cite the example, Chairperson, of BCM Buffalo City, that their performance have improved with the support that they receive from the national department. So is also the performance of the Nelson Mandela is improving. The next slide is also talk to the informal settlements upgrading. The target was also approved. On slide number 29. Slide number 29, this is our target in terms of the social housing. Social housing also is a program that we need to, that is being elevated, as we know that also the fiscus is reducing in terms of the number of BNGs that we need to deliver. So affordable rental does get elevated, but also part of that is that it also provides for the track record financially for the recipients of the social housing rental. Both targets were achieved. A consultation on a draft national rental housing plan was also conducted and achieved. This also talks to the targets on the policy and Chairperson that I covered earlier on. Next slide, which is slide number 30. The target that was not achieved in Q3, Honorable Deputy Minister has already covered this one. We were a bit ambitious in achieving that one. On slide number 31, also Honorable Deputy Minister has covered this one on the title deeds. I must indicate also here that, Chairperson, this is one of our priorities, as this target also is part of the SONA commitments and also the MTSF, and also it's part of the economic transformation that we are pursuing different parallel processes to ensure that we improved on the performance for the current MTSF as it ends in the next financial year. Here we've just cited the information that did not allow us to achieve this target for Q3. The next slide. The next slide, I will highlight the target that we did not achieve in terms of the number of job opportunities that have been created. This is the information that we get from the sector. We rely heavily on the sector in terms of how many jobs have been created. Chair, I must indicate here that the jobs that were created for Q2, they were 12,000, and for Q3, even though the target still remains amber because we did not receive all the information from all the provinces, The information there, which is still being verified, will be available at the end of the next quarter, which is this Q4 that we have. In summary, Chairperson, in terms of the non-financial performance, I've already indicated that in terms of our administration, we have achieved 83% for Q3, which was an improvement from 57% for Q2. And then in terms of our core business, we achieved 83% for Q3, which was a slight improvement from 79% from Q2. In a nutshell, we are improving, Chairperson, on our performance, but also we do also understand that we could do more. With your permission, Chairperson, if I can allow our acting CFO to take us through the finances.
The Honorable Deputy Minister, Chairperson, and the members of the Portfolio Committee for Human Settlements, good morning. I've been requested by Koliswa to share from my side, and I just want an indication. If the Portfolio Committee can see my screen.
Yes, we can see acting CFO.
Thank you so much. Members of the Portfolio Committee, I'll be taking you through the overall financial performance and for the 2 quarters. And the numbers that I'll be presenting here are cumulative. So I'll be starting with the performance as of the 30th of September. Included in the financial performance, we are also including the deliverables, the numbers that we have delivered. So on the, I need to minimize. Yes, thank you. The overall budget is 33.4 billion, and in the upper portion, it talks to the programs, the breakdown of the budget as per programs, and then the below one, it talks to the economic classification. So we know that the programs for the department are divided into 5, as the acting DG has been was presenting earlier on, and this is the allocation on those specific programs, and then we are sitting at 42. However, the below portion now, it gives us the breakdown of the 42%. However, it is taking now, bringing in the economic classification, whereby we are able to see the compensation of employees, we are sitting at 43%, and then the goods and services, we are sitting at 26. And I think the reason for the 26 is what the acting DG alluded on, because around March, April, we received an instruction from National Treasury that the preferential procurement framework 2017 was challenged and in the Concord, and it was put aside, and then we couldn't procure. And then that talks to the goods and services, hence we are sitting at 26%. And the next slide is giving now the operational expenditure by program. The operational expenditure, Chair and honorable members, it takes out the transfer. So now this is the operational budget, the total allocation of the operational budget that we are utilizing in order for us to do our job. So we are sitting at 33%, and down the blue part, it just shows how much were the drawings, because on a quarterly basis, we are requested to submit the drawings from National to National Treasury so that they can make the funds available for us to enable to pay the salaries and for us to be able to do our work, and we're sitting at 78%. The next slide, Chairperson and members, is talking to the grants and transfers as of the second quarter. The upper portion, it talks to the grants that are transferred to provinces. We're sitting at 51 because all these are transfers except the provincial emergency housing grant, which was sitting at 21%. And we know that the emergency grants are available through the application. And we know by that time, the only transfer that we had made was 142 KZN, even though we have approved 342, but by that particular point in time, we have only transferred 140 so that they can start responding to those disasters. On the municipal grants, we know that September is the first quarter of the municipalities. We are sitting at 46%, and the entities we are sitting at, sorry, the municipalities were sitting at 28, and because because it's their first quarter, and then the entities were sitting at 46. However, chairperson and members, this scenario is going to change when we are presenting now the third quarter information. This slide talks to the invoices that were not paid within 30 days. And then for the quarter that is ending on the 30th of September, we had a total of 11 invoices. There were 8 invoices that were not paid out of the 315. And then there were 3 invoices that were not paid out of the 522. And we acknowledge that this is a contravention of the law of the Treasury Regulation, because we are supposed to be processing and paying the invoices within 30 days. However, during the month of July, we as finance encountered a problem whereby there was a miscapturing of the invoices and a misallocation. So when we're doing our recons, we picked up that these invoices were captured incorrectly, that we had to start the process again. Hence, they were paid 3 days after the 30-day period. And then in the month of August, there were 3 invoices that were caused by the system, and we had to log a call for the logists to come and assist us. But Honorable Chairperson and members, moving from September until to date, as a department, we have been trying to make sure that we process all our invoices within 30 days. So this scenario will change when we're talking to the third quarter. The performance of the Human Settlement Development Grant that is transferred to the provinces as of the 30th of September, we started the process of looking at those provinces that we can pick up that they've got challenges. And then we are looking at the provinces that would need attention and support. And then we look at those ones that they don't need support. So when we look at Northern Cape, Chairperson, and Gauteng, on the HSDG, by the second quarter, they were sitting above 50%. Then when we looked at Western Cape, Mpumalanga and Eastern Cape, they're sitting as amber, which they were sitting above 40%. However, when you look at Free State, KwaZulu-Natal, Limpopo, and Northwest, they were sitting at below the 40%. So what we did here, Honorable Chairperson, we started raising the flag to say these are the provinces that we need to start paying attention to. And then we started by requesting them that they need to submit the recovery plans so that we can see whether they are in a position, they've procured everything, whether they will be in a position to spend their entire allocation, do they have project on the ground? And then we started visiting these provinces so that we can see the correctness and the reliability of the recovery plans that they've submitted. And then these were the deliverables. This is the work on the ground. So as well, we link the financial together with the work on the ground. So we look at what the business plan the provinces have targeted as per the business plan and what has been delivered. But this slide, it only talks to the 2 items, which is your service sites and the houses, which are the units. So you can see, Chairperson, that on the business plan for this financial year, 30,546 has been planned for delivering on the service side, but we are sitting at 32%. However, there is an improvement when we look at December. Then we can see as well on the houses, we plan that we're going to deliver 52,962. However, we're sitting at 28%. And the provinces that we have highlighted in yellow, they show that they were sitting under 20% of the delivery. You can see that Free State 8% and then Gauteng 16%. And Chairperson and honorable members, we know that Gauteng is the province that is getting the biggest contribution on the grant itself. So we are expecting them to be giving us the numbers. So if Gauteng is not giving us the numbers, and then as a sector, we won't be able to meet our target. However, the next slide, Chair, we went a step further to look at the work on the ground. So we are saying, let us look at those houses that are sitting on a foundation. We look at the houses that are on the wall plate. We look at the houses that are sitting on the roof and finishes. So for us to do this exercise is because we are saying it does not really talk to the delivery that is on the other slide, the completed units. There are funds that have been paid, included there, but they're sitting on the work in progress. So we are able to say that there are units that when you look at the finishes, 5,644 units that are sitting to be finished. So we are expecting these units when we go to the next month or the next quarter, they will be now translated into completed units. And then you can see that there is indeed work on the ground, because there is 17,150 units that as of the September, they were sitting on the foundation. So most of the provinces, you can see all the provinces have started work on the ground, even Free State, even though the number is too little for Free State, is 88, but you can see that at least there is work on the ground for all the units that the provinces have started, that is sitting there under the foundation slab. The next slide, Chair, we are talking to the cumulative FLISP. This is what has been delivered by the provinces. And then the next slide is what has been delivered by the NHFC. We are aware of the name change, but by this quarter, it was still called FLISP. And then the next slide talks to the informal settlement that is transferred to the provinces as well. Even here on this slide, Chairperson, everybody that is sitting under 40%, as of the September was coded in red, and above 40, but below 50 was coded as amber, and then the others were above 50%. And then in this point in time, the way we did with the HSDG, we are doing as well on the informal settlements. We have requested all these provinces that now they're sitting under red to start presenting their recovery plans to see what kind of interventions we can come up with. This is the provincial emergency housing grant. And as I said on my slide of transfers, that the only money that we had transferred as of September was the 140 million for the KZN disasters. However, we have approved 342. This is the performance of the metros. And then we know, as I said, that September is the first quarter of the metros. And then we know that by September, the metros were still finalizing or closing their books for the prior year. And then they were supposed to submit their books for audit on the 31st of August. So usually the first quarter, they start working around the month of September. Hence, we are sitting at 10.8, the same as the informal settlements upgrading partnership grant, because it's their first quarter, they're sitting at 10.5. And then this is the municipal emergency housing grant. And then for the quarter ended 30 September, we had only one application from Alfred Nzo municipality of 16.6 million. By that particular point in time, we had only transferred 8.3 million. Now, Chairperson and members, this slide now we are moving to the quarter that is ending on the 31st of December. This is the overall budget. Now, there is an improvement from the 30th of September to the 31st of December. We are sitting at 68%. And Chairperson and members of the Portfolio Committee, you can see that on the programs, we are doing very well on program 2. And then this one, it agrees with what the acting DG has presented on the performance on the program. So you can see that there is an improvement. There is a positive relationship between what has been presented earlier on and what in the financial. So we are sitting at 58%. And then there is a bit of improvement. I'm going down to the economic classification on the goods and services. We are sitting at 26. However, there is an improvement. We are sitting at 46. And then our transfers and subsidies, we are sitting at 68%. The next slide is taking out the transfers and subsidies, which is our operational budget. We are sitting at 54%. And the transfers, they've also increased. You can see that the grants, totally we are sitting at 67%, with our grants that are transferred to provinces 73. And then provincial emergency housing grant as well is the one that's still sitting at 23, and the municipal emergency housing grant. So these are the ones that we started watching closely, the emergency grants, because the other grants are conditional. By end of the financial year, they will be transferred. But with the emergency housing grants, that's the one that we are watching closely. And we know that there is a lot of disasters that had happened. And then by December, we had already received an additional top-up funding from National Treasury, because National Treasury, they gave us a top-up funding to say we know that there will be other disasters that will be happening, so we are giving you a top-up funding. Hence, now the allocation has increased to 795. And then last week we had MINMEC, whereby all the provinces that had disasters, Minister was asking the MECs one by one. For example, Mpumalanga, they have already submitted their application because we know with the floods that happened. And then City of Joburg as well, they're supposed to submit. And then Northwest and Eastern Cape. So we had a discussion last week, and then we agreed that by end of business tomorrow, because we don't want to underspend on the emergencies, because we know that there's a lot of emergencies that happen. So we are waiting for those applications to come in. We have an agreement with National Treasury that once we get the application in, then we are going to release the money. And then when it comes to our entities, you can see that most of them by the 31st of December, we have transferred, except the NHFC for FLISP, which was 60%, however, it was subsequently transferred. The scholarship program is the one that's sitting under 39%. And on the invoices, as I said earlier on, from September, all the invoices, we are trying as finance to make sure that we process all the invoices within 30 days, and then we are gonna keep the trend until end of the financial year. So, Chairperson and honorable members, this is the performance of the Human Settlement Development Grant as of the 31st of December. This is the third quarter. This is when the decisions are made. Because we looked at the recovery plans, we had a lot of discussions with all these provinces. We went to MINMEC, then decisions that were made. Decisions are not made because as national, we want to stop and reallocate funds. Decisions are made so that we secure funds, they don't revert back to the revenue fund. Because if we realize that, for example, when we looked at the Free State, we looked at their procurement, they were still advertising. There were certain tenders that they were not closed by the end of December. So decisions they had to be made that because of this procurement that is still underway by the third quarter, maybe as MINMEC, we should stop a portion of 100 million from the Free State. We looked again at Limpopo. There were issues, there were glaring issues regarding procurement as well, that maybe we should take 100 million. And there were other provinces that were showing funding pressures. You can see the green one, the darker green, Northern Cape, they were already sitting at 105, already spent on their allocation. And we can see, Honorable Chairperson and members, that Northern Cape, their allocation is close to 2% of the total, is 273. So you can see that they were already over. So they were requesting for additional funding. So the money that we took from Limpopo and Free State, it was reallocated to Mpumalanga and Northern Cape, and National Treasury did agree, and a gazette was passed in that regard. Then when we looked at the work on the ground, you can see that most of the provinces now, because we are expecting that there must be a delivery on the ground, you can see that on the servicing of site, KZN and Northwest are doing very well. They've already exceeded their annual targets. Then when you look at the delivery of site, delivery of houses, you can see that Limpopo and Northern Cape, they will be able to give us numbers. They will be able to meet their targets. However, when you look at Free State, there is a positive relationship between the non-performance of the funds of the allocation and the delivery on the ground. You can see that on the houses, out of the 2,351, only 201 houses have been delivered. So it shows that there is a challenge there. When you look at Eastern Cape, they're sitting at 46 and 41%. We had an intense discussion at our technical MINMEC. We requested all these provinces that they need to go back because we need to recover. Next year is our last year of the MTSF. So we need to recover because from where we are sitting, it shows that we won't be able to meet our annual target. But now we are looking forwardly to next year because we need to move on our MTSF. So we gave each other homework that we need to come up with the prioritization. For example, all those provinces that are rural, Eastern Cape, KwaZulu-Natal, Limpopo, they need to start focusing more on the rural program so that they deliver numbers and also address the mud houses and address all the issues of the asbestos, all the priorities. And then we went again, we looked at the work in progress. We can see that by December, the work in progress for the foundations or those units that were underslept, they have increased 30,446. But now the problem is we've got 3 months, December, January, February, March, so that all this work in progress can translate into the final units. So this one is giving us that the ones that are under finishes is 9,000 units, but you can see that the units are under Eastern Cape, there's a lot of units, and then Gauteng 1,003, Mpumalanga 1,100, and then Northwest 1,674. Then most of the other ones, they don't even have units as Limpopo. You can see that Limpopo, they don't have units under finishes, they don't have units under roof. So it means that for them, for the units to translate into finishes, we are looking at the units that are still. So it means that the contractors on the ground, they need to work harder so that we can get the numbers. So for the quarter that is ending for FLISP, we are sitting at 2,000 on the FLISP. Chairperson and honorable members, this is the target whereby we are certain that we are going to meet our NTSF, because there is provinces are implementing as well as NHFC. So you can see that on the NHFC, we've got 3,261. So you can see that application and then the approval, the number of subsidy that have been disbursed, you can see that's 3,095. So this is the target that as human settlements, we are comfortable that we are going to meet our NTSF target. Now, the next one is talk to the Informal Settlements Upgrading Partnership Grant for provinces. What we did on the HSDG, we did the same on the IS2PG. We went back as MINMEC and then we looked at Free State. So you can see that Free State, they're not doing very well on the HSDG. They're also struggling on the IS2PG. But when you look at Gauteng, they're sitting with the biggest allocation, 1.3 billion. But by December, 788 million was not spent. When you look at KwaZulu-Natal, 41 was not spent. When you look at Limpopo, 39. When we look at the recovery plan of all these 4 provinces, the only one that they had a solid recovery plan and the reason for the performance was KZN. We know that KZN was hardly hit with those disasters, and the areas that were hit were those informal settlements. So they couldn't access. So there is commitments. Contractors were there, but contractors couldn't access due to the difficulty in terrain. That's why they were sitting at 41%. But as MINMEC, when we looked at the difficulty in Free State, the decisions had to be made. When we looked at Gauteng recovery plan, it was not convincing, and a decision had to make that we, instead of losing the money back to the fiscals, because if we don't do it, the money will go back, or National Treasury is going to make the decisions on our behalf. So it was recommended that we propose to stop 200 from Gauteng, 50 Free State, and 44 from Limpopo. I think that's a typo, that Northwest supposed to be Limpopo, and then it was reallocated 200 to Mpumalanga, and then Northern Cape is 94 million. The next slide now is the emergency grants. You can see compared to September, we have already had an approval for Eastern Cape, because we know that KwaZulu-Natal and Eastern Cape, they were hit almost the same time. So we have transferred 42 additional to the 140 for KZN. We had also transferred 42 million to the Eastern Cape province. Then, because now we are on the second quarter of the metropolitan municipalities, we need to do the same way as what we did with the provinces when they were on their second quarter. So the second quarter of the metros, everybody that was sitting under 30% is color-coded in red. We started writing to them, requesting them to submit their recovery plans, and we started interrogating the recovery plan. The same as on the Informal Settlements Upgrading Partnership Grant. And I won't talk much because the Honorable Deputy Minister has indicated that we are having a session this afternoon with all these metropolitan municipalities so that we can look at their recovery plan. The thing is, if we don't do that, and if ever we don't look at it and make a proposal, National Treasury is going to do that decision, because the Act allows them. And National Treasury has already communicated with all the metropolitans that they are intending to stop. So hence we are having this session this afternoon. So that will be the end of my submission. I will hand over to the acting DG. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Person. These are the areas of improvement. that we need to go a step further in terms of the validation and reconciliation of our reported performance on the MTSF related targets as we are looking at the recovery plan. And then lastly, this presentation is for the portfolio committee to note our performance for both Q2 and Q3. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Acting DG and Acting CFO for the presentation. I'll now invite members to interact with the report. Can I note hands? I don't see any hands.
Chair, we request the people that were presenting to remove the presentation on the screen. Thank you.
Okay, yes, thank you very much. I see Dr. Kumalo. Doctor.
Thanks, Chair. And thanks to the colleagues. Good morning, colleagues, and thanks for the presentation. Chair, just a few things that are niggling. We note the report, of course, and we welcome and congratulate the various provinces for the various areas where there has been good performance. But I think we shouldn't shy away from the conversations that are hard, that we should be having. And I think I'll start off, Chair, by just asking, considering the unemployment in the country and, what a struggle that is, especially for young people. I was wondering if the department can perhaps give us details around the jobs created. They mentioned 12,000 and another figure as well that I didn't note on my notes. However, just if we can get details around those jobs, are they permanent, sustainability, what nature of job are they, and whom are they offered to, etc. And then also, I think the Deputy Minister did in her opening statement mention the fact that, and so did the CFO, mention that, unfortunately funds have to be reallocated. And I think, I think I understand, or it's acceptable, it's understandable, the rationale behind it. But I do still think we need answers around the funds. We get answers. We understand that aspect around why, so that it doesn't go back to the fiscus, etc. But I'm still very interested around hearing about citizens, and the plans that are being made in that regard for people who get deprived of the right to human or shelter, so to speak. I have asked this in the last meeting, and we do, the answer was we are avoiding having the money go back to the fiscus, which is, yeah, sure, point taken. But I'm very passionate about, I'm more interested in the people on the ground who are missing out on services that they have rights to. So I'm wondering if the department actually has plans for those people, any tangible plans, or is it a case of it's just unfortunate? So if I can perhaps hear from the Deputy Minister in that regard as well. Also, eradicating mud houses, Chairperson, there's a backlog in, that we talk about. If we can just get an indication of the implementation plan and the criteria being used for prioritization. I think maybe I'll double that again with asbestos. I tried to get the minister to answer that, but we didn't get an answer. So the Deputy Minister's online, perhaps she can assist with just giving us an indication so we can communicate to our constituencies, these are the plans. You can expect to see something at such and such a time, as opposed to saying, well, you can expect to see a difference at least in the next year. So if we can just get details on that. And then also, if, you know, to the Deputy Minister, also if we can get an indication how the ministry is supporting cities and municipalities or provinces, however you look at it, but how the ministry is supporting the various service delivery arms to eradicate these mud houses and asbestos, especially when it comes to funds. I think we understand how, you know, tight budgets are across cities and provinces. And, you know, the minister did indicate that some provinces and cities were not prioritizing it. But, you know, when we look deeper, it's because there are no funds. So I'd like to understand from, you know, the Deputy Minister, what the ministry, how the ministry is considering supporting these cities to fast track these priorities. Are they looking at a fund, perhaps that they you know, they're gonna, you know, start for this priority, or how are they supporting these cities to enable them to eradicate asbestos and mud houses, etc. And then just looking at the performance against the full annual targets, Chairperson, we can all note and accept that meetings have to take place with provinces and understand why they're underperforming, etc. But what we haven't heard is the actual plans beyond those meetings. I think for 3 consecutive meetings, we've been hearing that, you know, there's this particular platform, and you know, the department goes to the provinces and meets with them and understands why they're not spending, etc. But I think what you know, I'm curious to find out, you know, out of those meetings, what are the plans? The CFO mentioned that, you know, they had to go back to the drawing board, or they met with them and they you know, they've asked them to prioritize these. But what confidence do we have that, you know, we're going to start seeing a difference in the performance, especially when looking at the performance to date against the full annual targets? Yeah, I think I'll stop there, Chairperson. I had one more thing, but I think I'll rest.
No, continue. You are still the only one who have raised the voice, the hand, Doctor. Doctor?
Oh, sorry, I'm speaking to myself. Sorry, I actually muted myself. Thanks, Chair. Sorry. The ISUP underperformance, Chair, again, I think, I mean, this is continuous. We see it every other quarter, so to speak. I'm wondering if we shouldn't be considering, you know, assisting these provinces one way or the other. And, you know, again, the same sort of question as to, you know, do we have plans? Because, you know, when you see somebody, you know, it's like performance management. When somebody's not performing, you try and put interventions in place to say, okay, we'll support you this way. We will give you this, you know, these many chances to try and improve. So I'm interested in that, because ultimately, you know, the residents, people on the ground are, you know, suffering from this underperformance. But I think, yeah, that was the last note, Chair, just the informal settlements upgrades and the performance in that regard. That will be all. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much, Doctor. I don't see any other hand. Oh, Honorable Sehlwai.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning to the DM and the officials, also the colleagues, the honorable members, the platform. Thank you for the presentation. I think one of the issues that I was to speak to is generally the recovery plan on all these issues where there's an identified non-performance. I think in the opening of UDM, she made a very important issue of walking the talk, where the minister and herself discovered that there is no performance on different important areas of service delivery in different provinces and municipalities. I think that is a very strong progress, because it is always perceived that the person The layer that is not performing is the national department, whereas it's not. It's the other spheres who are delegated to perform on behalf of the national department. I think I like that idea of walking the talk and go to them for them to be able to see. Critically, the issue of the priority development areas. When this concept came in the department, it is a very, very exciting one. We're all excited in the committee. But what I want to raise is that as the presenter mentioned, one of the impediments is the land rezoning plan on municipalities. I think this is coming for the second time to us. That is a challenge. I'm not sure a DM perhaps will assist us. If the national department has a land planning, a unit which should focus on these areas, because to us, this is a democracy in presence, these project development areas in our areas. I think this is very, very important. I wish that unit, if it's there, could have a specific focus to get to the municipalities on their challenges on this matter. The other area, Chair, is the target that is not achieved. But I think the DM is also dealt with that in terms of the processes that they are following in different municipalities. Because if the municipalities are not performing, provinces are not going to perform. And I like the idea of get to municipalities for them to perform. And also the acting DG and the acting CFO, I like the idea because when they raise the challenges confronted with to us, they are also telling us the remedial processes that they are following. For instance, the issue of these research reports where there should be an intervention plan, and also the issue of service providers where they are assisted by the National Treasurer. Because it's important for us to listen on those remedial processes. Where I am not getting a clarity, Chairperson, is on the blocked projects. I see the report, it's a financial report and a planning of blocked projects. I would like to hear the progress. If I'm not wrong, I thought the blocked projects is the old idea of rectification, which continues to be a challenge. Our communities are still waiting for rectification of their houses. So can we get a progress on this? Where are we in the block projects? The other one, Chair, is a program that the DM led on the title deed. There was a report that was saying it's difficult to get the title deed because of the poor land planning and all those issues. And how do you give a house which is not well planned and zoned in those? There was a report that we got on that. Where are we? Where are we? Because giving me a title deed on a house that is falling apart, that do not even have the engineering, that do not have not a place in a correct land. it's a problem. So where are we in those challenges of the title deed? The other one, Chair, is the issue of I hear the recovery plan on the 30 days payment, which I was going to ask why, what is the problem? But the response that we are getting is highly technical, which also the department needs to address it on why we are not paying within the 30 days. I think it's an area that they should come closer to it. In the economic classification, there is a minus 100% on the payments for financial assets. I want clarity on that. What does that mean? What does that mean? Payments for financial assets, a minus 100%. What is that? The other one, Chair, is I like the idea where the acting CFO is saying in the program of ISEP, I don't know that name, it's integrated something informal upgrading. The department because that program is addressing this issue of human settlement perspective, which is not housing. I so wish that the department could really come closer on what the department picked last week, the presentation, where a round presentation with performance was presented, leaving out the different areas that make a house to be a home. Have electricity, have water. I wish it could come closer to that so that we don't lose that, because this is a what I could call it, a very good success on the department to integrate all services to give a house. This human settlement idea did not work because it lacked that portion. I wish it could come closer to that singakhatwa by people that are presenting. It's painful, the issue of taking money and give it to another, but it makes sense on the basis of the financial and the quarterly performance. It makes sense, but my view is that what was happening in the previous years in these particular provinces, because if this was the trend, we'll get the same even next time. Perhaps a clear plan for the department to assist them consistently or permanently, yes, permanently, so that we don't get this in the next financial year. If the previous years were the same, I can't recall, I didn't get to my information. Apology, Chair. The issue of the procurement problems on the USDG, I'm sorry, I didn't get the recovery plan by the presenter on what the department is going to do to assist these municipalities. We will take the money. We'll take the money, but again, there's a problem that has been identified. How do we come in and assist them? I know that municipalities have their procurement processes and committees for procurement, but why they are not winning the war in this particular one? in the provincial emergency grant, there's a 21% expenditure. Can I get clarity on that? And if you're mixing this grant, there are many that have been presented. Can I get clarity on that? Sure. What's that? It's there are just only two issues now, Chair. I want to emphasize the issue of a pain for money to be taken. Remember, this money was pronounced, or imagine that maybe DM went there to say this financial year we've approved 1.2 billion for this, on this and that, and there is no performance, and the community hear that the money is being taken away. I don't know what is the process of making sure. We are in a very sensitive year as the country, very sensitive year. We must not make our people to be angry. I do not know, DM, what could be a process that would again contain that anger from our people in the presentations that they are making. They can say, you're speaking English, you're speaking finances, we want a value created on the ground. We don't want to hear that. So it's important that you do that upfront. The last one is I'm happy to hear that on the emergency grant, Eastern Cape is considered because Port St. John's was highly affected. I saw that. Please, DM, this issue of taking money to those that are performing, it should be pronounced very well so that provinces and municipalities that are not performing, babe jealous. They must know that those that are performing are being rewarded by the national department. There's something that has been raised before the closure of the Eastern Cape service sites, which is 41%. But the presenter made a very important issue to say, we have agreed that they must consider to go to mud house also, and then the asbestos. If I could get clarity on that, that was a good presentation. I liked it, but I couldn't make it in my mind. Thank you, Chair. Sorry for taking long.
Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much. Thank you very much, Honorable Sifai. I don't see any other hands. Let me add my voice on the presentation. I think just to add on what other honorable members have raised, I'll start with the the provinces that lose money to other provinces. Just to check in terms of Honorable Doctor has raised the issue of what is it that you're doing as department in terms to make sure that the citizens themselves are not losing or their rights are not being tampered with. Mine, I would add there, in terms of your target towards the MTFS, does the receiving provinces, are you increasing the target and reducing the target for those other provinces? And how do we see that the money that are being transferred to other provinces in the name of performing does actually benefiting our people? Unlike situation at some point, there was one province who took a lot of money paying security guards to protect land on the USDG, and they were given money because in the name of performance. What this performance, have we analyzed the performance of all of those provinces that they are receiving more money? And in terms of the job creation, have you actually, are you going to again make sure that the allocation for those provinces that you have taken money from, taken to those provinces and see whether they are able to, they complements the number, because taking the money is not a helpful process if you're not actually looking even in terms of the value, in terms of making sure that the objectives that are set on these conditional grants are being achieved. And looking at, and one would want the department, if you cannot give us the detailed report as Honorable Sifai has indicated now, on the, since the term, this term, how many money were taken to these provinces that you are taking money? And as you have realized that you are taking money from these provinces, what plans do you have which has failed even today? In terms of Limpopo, in particular, one time I've asked the question around that we're told that the MEC and the HOD are fighting, the previous HOD. And that HOD has been appointed by National to Mangaung, which Mangaung today is in red. I just want to understand the correlation and to say today, Limpopo has not been performing. It's not for the first time the money has been taken. And the issue was that MEC and the HOD are fighting. The same HOD was taken to Bloemfontein, and we have asked the question, if this person has not been performing in Limpopo, you are taking the person to Mangaung, is he not going to do the same thing? Today, Mangaung has got the same problem. Just to get the clarity around that issue and the answers. But again, the issue of the job creation, on the tenders awarded, how many tenders, contractors, women contractors and youth have been appointed in all these provinces, particularly the provinces that are said to be performing. And in terms of this money that they are getting, are we going to see, even seeing the numbers going up in terms of the target? On the informal settlement, there was an issue of informal settlement, which when we're meeting with the metros, the acting CFO was saying that they've recommended to, I think it's National Treasury, that they are going to assist, the money that would be taken is going to assist to particular informal settlement. Just to check whether these provinces that have been identified, is it the informal settlement that you're talking about, which you have, you said the Human Rights Commission has actually called you to say that you must intervene. DM, to you, your input was profound, but I just want to check in terms of the appointments of the senior management, because as you speak, we are receiving this report, you have a acting positions in your departments, and the loss of the DG, which we know is a prerogative of the president, but we want to know how is the department pressurizing the president to finalize the matter so that the department can be able to get its HOT, because some of the non-performance in terms of provinces, they might not actually feel it because people that are interacting with them, they are acting. and just to check again, in last year when you've presented this non-performance of the department, though today we are very proud of yourself because you've improved a lot, but we had asked that the department, because you are people that receive this appropriation, do you have any contractual agreements with these provinces besides the business plan? Does the minister have a contract with MECs? Does DGs have contract with HODs for them to implement? Because we as national were affected. We might not meet the national targets in terms of the MTFS because provinces are unable to implement as required. I don't want to talk about the title deed. We're still waiting for the operation. What that operation for that you do with National Treasury to help us to help the department to fast track the issue of the title deed. Can we check which provinces have you started with that operation, whatever that you tracking operation? It was launched by Treasury. I forgot the name. Just to check in which provinces have you started, and what is it that has been done, and found out what might be the problem in those provinces in terms of the provision of title deed. On the presentation, one area on non-financials where we have not performed is the PHAs, and acting DG raised the issue that is because of other sectors or other spheres of government, like the issue of rezoning and of land, which affected your performance. Just to check in terms of the DDM, do we have any reports of the champions of those, or did you ever engage the champions of those districts where you have difficulties with the other spheres of government, or the active participation of the Department of Human Settlement in these DDMs, including raising this, flaking out these challenges that you are faced, which affect your performance with the planning and monitoring, particularly the presidency, for them to assist you? Yeah, those are the issues that I wanted to add, Chair. Can we then get the response from the department?
Thank you very much.
I see your, hold on, GM. Sis Nancy, your hand is still up. Honorable Sekhoi, your hands is up. Is it the legacy hand? I don't get the response. You can start the GM to allocate responses, and then I'm not sure whether you start or you'll close. GM.
Thank you very much. DG and Lucy will get into specifics, Chair. I will answer those that were directed to me. Let me start by saying, Chair, yesterday I agree with all honorable members when they are talking about acting DG's post. Yesterday, we had interviews of filling of this post, the policy, research and planning, and informal segments upgrading, chief financial officer, which is the acting CFO. We had the whole day interviews. Those posts will be filled as soon as possible, Chair. With the process of taking them to cabinet will be done, and we emphasized yesterday that these should be fast-tracked so that we are filling those posts as soon as possible. I also want to thank all the people that asked questions. Of course, we are taking them seriously, and I do want to agree with Dr. Khumalo that yes, issue of unemployment, and we spoke of 12,000, which I think they will elaborate more, but my understanding of our post in most cases is that it's not most of the time permanent post, because we take youth in the communities where we have projects, and then our projects are not permanent most of the time. Because once the houses are finished, you'll find that there will be few permanent posts, but not permanent for everyone. But I think Ulusi will also assist me in that. I know that Dr. Khumalo, the issue of asbestos, mud houses, and also eradication of mud houses. The third one is title deeds that you've mentioned. We've created a platform as this Department of Destitutes, because the majority, the provinces that have mostly mud houses is Eastern Cape, KZN, and Limpopo. Those are rural areas where you find, I'm not saying other provinces don't have, but you mostly find these mud houses in these three provinces. We've created a platform of, it's called Destitute Houses. It's led by me, honorable members, because the minister gave me this delegation. We're doing well with provinces, especially the Eastern Cape, because they are responding, and we're able to actually discuss matters of mud houses, and for each region or each municipality. And that platform is attended by myself, the mayors, the ward councillors, the MMC for human settlements. We're able to trace all the mud houses. We've decided to also include the ward councillors, because they are on the ground to tell us. They sometimes show us the photos of these mud houses. Yes, of course, I know that there were houses that were reported to me, especially by the EFF. We attended to those. And though I know that the chair and also portfolio committee, we, all of us, do not want to build TRDUs or give mud houses or people with mud houses TRDUs. But because of these disasters, we decided that where in a dire situation, where there is no shelter at all, we then put TRUs. We also monitor these TRUs so that they are in a good condition, because we found that contractors sometimes, Chair, they don't build the TRUs that are in a good condition with electricity and everything. We follow them now. We go like in KZN, where we went to see those TRUs. Those people, most of them are those that are coming from houses, mud houses. And that platform is going to be created, Chair, with all the provinces, because there is going to be money for them to attend to these mud houses. Now, the other matter, Chair, that we've discussed, we had a MINMEC last week. The department is planning on allocating 50% of the total HSDG to the priorities, like the unblocking of the block project, eradication of mud houses, and title deeds. We are going to monitor that, Chair, and make sure that the money which is going to be given for these priorities is going to be used for these priorities, because in some cases, you will find that municipalities, once they are given money, they take money that is assigned for certain projects and use it for other things. So we are monitoring them so that they don't use the money for other things. And the issue of title deed, I think it was asked by 3 honorable members. The worst one, which we are monitoring, and as you saw in the presentation, the Free State is not doing well. As I said in my opening remarks, that the Free State had a period where there was no stability. We have a new MEC now, and we will make sure that even the issue of title deeds, honorable members, we are monitoring them. We have a platform where we are engaging them, because indeed, comrade, Honorable Sifrai is correct by saying that they were coming up, they were telling us about I would say the issues that not, convincing us of establishment of houses and all the issues that were telling us in terms of delaying the issue of title deeds, town establishment, land planning. And with the DDM now, we don't see the problem. Why are they still telling us about the land planning is a problem, and also town establishment? Because we are working together as three spheres of government to make sure that the title deeds are fast-tracked, and we are doing that, Chair. And it's the first province that we are going to follow is Mangaung. And where they are not doing very well is Gauteng in terms of title deeds. Remember, Chair, we have backlog of title deeds. All the houses pre-1994, in terms of also the asbestos, were pre-1994. I think people that are coming from townships like Umdansane, the Soweto, and Free State. We only speak about Free State now because it was in the public domain, the issue of asbestos. But you will just remember that pre-1994, we still have townships that have asbestos that we need to also make sure that they are removed, because they have health implications. And I want to promise the committee that we are working hard, more especially now that we are going to have full-time people in this filling of these vacancies, that we are going to make sure that all these title deeds in the next financial quarter, you will see improvement in terms of the title deeds. Chair, the economic classification, I will be helped by Lucy, and also ISEP. Lucy will speak on that issue of procurement problem, USDG. Lucy will speak to that. And Chair, I know that we do a lot of work, as well. I said at my opening remarks that we're trying by all means to push these provinces that are not utilizing the money. Because we've taken your advice that it can't be right that we say we're taking money from provinces that are not utilizing the money to provinces that are utilizing the money, because it doesn't assist. Ordinary people suffer. And that is why tomorrow we are having a meeting, and not tomorrow, this afternoon, Chair, I'm sorry, a meeting that is all the provinces that are not doing well, and also the municipalities, the MNCs. Today, we want to make sure that we are telling them to utilize the money as soon as possible. We need to monitor to state because of instability. We hope that because now there's new premier, new MECs, there's gonna be a stability. I'm planning a meeting with the Western Cape DDM political champions. The reason for calling this meeting is to address challenges that as we DDM champions deployed in the Western Cape face. I'm working with the Western Cape, with the local municipality and also MEC CIMAS. We are working together in order to look at these issues of title deeds and also issues that were raised by honorable members. We are going to have a meeting and also the roadshow of all the, we're going to work very hard, honorable members. One of the areas where we think we should monitor is the issue of where in the municipalities where they will build houses and not finish. And we requested all the provinces to give us the number of blocked projects in their provinces. And those are the projects that we are going to work on using that 15% that I was talking about. And Chair, metros that are doing very well at the moment is BCM, and all other metros are not doing very well. We are going to meet them today. Hopefully that we are going to come back to you and give you the results of our meeting with them. I am going to request the acting DG and also Lucy to assist me in terms of going to specifics of the questions that were asked by honorable members. Chair, lastly, the questions from Honorable Khumalo, DM, the acting DG and CFO, you spoke about reallocation of funds, which I answered. But what I like about Dr. Khumalo, you understand the concept of saying reallocation of funds is to avoid the money that will go to fiscals. We're going to work on it, Dr. Khumalo. We're going to work on it. We are, the minister is hands-on. Tomorrow, Honorable Sikhwai, we're going to Nelson Mandela. I know Nelson Mandela, at the time that I was in the water and sanitation, I came across houses that were built then, before 1994, that need rectification. And we are going to go to Nelson Mandela, myself and the minister tomorrow. And I will also report to the minister that we need to do something, because these houses from 1994, these houses were there. And also working with the MECs of the Eastern Cape, we need to do something. And I think it was done before. We need to get the numbers of people that are, of houses that are rectified. And I'm going to request the acting CFO and also the acting DDG. And we're not going to talk about acting now anymore, honorable members. We are going to talk about people that are going to be deployed fully and look at the programs. And I will now hand over to the acting DG and Lucy to assist. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister and Honorable Chairperson. I will ask the acting CFO to provide the response in respective areas, followed by acting DDG Atkinson, and followed by acting DDG Moloi, and followed by acting DDG Dr. Sokopo. Then I will come at the end, Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you, Acting DG. I think the first part by Honorable Dr. Kumalo, I will leave them to the program managers because they're talking to the plans. I will deal with Honorable Sutlwai on the 30 days payments, that why are we not paying the invoices within 30 days. Honorable Sutlwai, as I said earlier on, that the contributing factors, we look at them when we get the report. We are supposed to be reporting to the National Treasury on a monthly basis, and we need to provide the reasons why we are not, why we didn't pay. And on the presentation that I made for the quarter that is ending on the 31st of December, since September, October, November, December, and the trend is going to continue until the end of the financial year, we are making sure that we process and we pay the invoices within 30 days. However, there were instances in the quarter that ended in September. We investigate what is the problem, because even if when we respond to Treasury, we need to provide them with the reasons. The reasons, as I said when I was doing the presentation, is some things are beyond our control, like the logis system that we are using. But as a department, we need to come up with the controls. So what we are doing, after we have processed the invoices, the next day, there is somebody who will go and look at the bank vis-a-vis what we have captured, that all that we have captured, the report that has been captured, all these payments has been released, that there is nothing that is hanging. Because if we don't come up with that control, we will pick up when it's late that, oh, we process these invoices thinking that's processed, but end of the month, when we are coming up with a report, we realize that some invoices were hanging on the system. They were not translated to go to the bank for the payment to be effected. So we have put in the controls. Hence, from July going to December and including the coming months for the end of the financial year, because of the controls that we have put in place, we have been paying. But if there are invoices that are not paid within 30 days, after the investigation, we pick up that is the negligence of an official. Consequence management kicks in, and the acting DG have been on that case that we are not going to leave the officials who are causing us to contravene, because this is law. So immediately when we pick up after the investigation that this was an employee who caused this, and then the consequence management will kick in. And the next matter that was raised by Honorable Sutlwai was the payments for capital assets. I've gone back to look. The minus was sitting on the expenditure as of 30 September, and I need to apologize, Honorable Sutlwai, that minus 100. It was an error, but when we go to the correct one on the 30th of December, the report for the 30th of December, we have corrected. So that one is an error on our side, and then we should have corrected that error, because it's not a minus, it's 80%, because payments for financial assets was 209, and then we have expenditures 167. So there was still a balance that is left of 42. So it's supposed to be 80%. That is an error on our side. We will fix that. And maybe I should let the committee know what is the payments of financial assets. This is the losses. Because if there is losses that are incurred by officials, we have got a committee that sits and look at who is responsible for that loss. And then if ever the official found that it was not the negligent on their part, then we have to pay as a department. That's what it fills in under financial assets. But when you go on our financial statements and we find out that the losses is the negligent on the employees, they are paying, we raise the data, then we give them the letters, then we deduct the money from their salaries. So we are not just paying, but if the negligence is on the officials, and then we ask them to pay on those losses. The next question by the Honorable Sikwai was, what has been happening in the previous years? They need a clear plan. How is it that we are assisting? That is going to be a permanent. We had a meeting on Monday with the metros to say we need to come up with recommendations. What is it? What are the interventions that we are seeing that we don't want to be reverting to the taking of the money, stopping and reallocation? We came up with a lot of challenges, but we were told by the MINMEC that we can't be coming out with challenges. We need to come up with the intervention per challenges. So when you look at the common challenges throughout the metros, I'll talk to the metros because it's the most recent. When we look out with the metros, number one is the political instability. The political instability that is happening, and I think we all know what has been happening in all the metros. One day we've got a mayor, the next day the council does not sit, the next day the speaker has been, the city manager and the speaker, they're taking each other to court, and then the next day is, so all these things, they have an impact on the performance of the budgets, because the budgets are approved by the council. And until the council approves the budgets, then they cannot procure. So that is the biggest challenges that we are sitting with. However, the intervention that we came in, we rocked in SALGA. We said, SALGA, we need you to assist us, especially when it comes to talking to the metros and also to National Treasury. Maybe we need to have the special budget adjustments, because we realize that most of these metros that we are having a discussion with later today is procurement. The procurement, it came in because of the council not approving the budgets. So if we can have maybe SALGA intervening, maybe we'll be able to go somewhere. But as a sector, we agree that maybe the metros should see the way that they are doing business. They should start looking at procuring the panels. Because when we do your procurement through panels, at least you advertise once, and then that panel will be in your system for a period of 3 years. So that is one that we are thinking is going to solve these challenges that we are sitting with. Because once you have got panels, then you are able to utilize the panels that will be in your system for a period of 3 years. And then the other one that we put in to look into the procurement was the multi-year contracts. We said, now we are proposing that when they go out on a tender, they need to go on a multi-year. So they need to make sure that they commit with the multi-years, with a specific provider, so that when all these things are happening, at least the projects are approved for the next 3 years. So the biggest contributor, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable Sikwai, is the procurement. I'm going to the second, the other question, that what is it that we are doing as national when it comes to assisting the provinces with the procurement? Unfortunately, there's another fear of government, is local government. We are national government. There's another sphere of government that is provincial government. Unfortunately, all these spheres of government, they operate individually. We cannot, as a national, be sitting at the procurement of the municipality. We are not allowed by law, because they are reporting to the mayor and then to the council. When you look at the provinces have got the HOD is reporting to the MEC is reporting to the premier. So we cannot be involved, but what we can do is to offer support and to offer guidance. Hence, we are having the CFO forum. Now, immediately after the introduction of the new procurement regulations, we went to MINMEC and the CFO forum. We called all the CFOs to say, let us look at these new regulations so that we bring each other on board. We know that for the sector, these are the changes, because we don't want to be going as a national and then we are leaving our provinces behind, we are leaving our metros behind. So we've got forums whereby we sit to say, but how do we deal with this matter? How do we deal with matter? Unfortunately, we cannot be involved in their procurement, but we can offer advice to say, when you find yourself in this manner, this is what. So the interventions that we can agree as a sector to say, going forward, this is what we can take. And on the matter of the provincial emergency housing grant, that is sitting at 21%. So it's not an expenditure. There are different slides. The slide that Honorable Sutwai was referring to is a slide that talks to grants and transfers. So these are transfers. So the transfer is to say that we have approved. There is a difference between what we have transferred and what we have approved. So the transfer is the percentage. Remember, for KZN, we have approved 342 million. But we cannot transfer the whole amount. What we agreed together with National Treasury is we don't want to give them the whole amount. We give them in tranches. So that percentage is talking to the transfer, the tranche that we have transferred. But once the province or the municipality has spent 80% of the first tranche, the first transfer, we transfer the balance. So that 23% is not necessarily the expenditure, no, it's what we have transferred. But when we look at the provincial emergency housing grant, then we are able to see how much we have approved. For KZN, we have approved 342 million. By today, we have transferred everything to KZN. When you look at the Free State, the Eastern Cape, they have requested 82 million. We have transferred half, 42%, because they had challenges. We went to MINMEC last week, Thursday. The Eastern Cape, they're saying now they've dealt with their procurement. Now the contractors are on the site. And then we have agreed with them that then we have to go to Treasury to say, can we give them the balance? Then we are going to transfer the balance. Together with the municipalities, when you go, as of today, on the municipalities, we have got the city of Joburg for the Mai. We have got the city of Cape Town request as of today for those informal settlements that burned down. Treasury, we have agreed with them that we are going to transfer to them 100%. So the status quo is going to change on the transfers. Together with the decision that was taken from the MINMEC that we had last week, Thursday, that also all those municipalities and the metros that had the disasters, we know that city of Joburg, they had those disasters that affected mostly the city of Joburg in Gauteng. And the MMC, the new MMC, the difficulty is we didn't receive, because we know about what was actually happening, the changes that happened in the city of Joburg. So the MMC and the mayor, they took time to understand because they were new. However, last week, the MMC did commit that the application for the emergency grant, she's going to make sure, because she has already signed, she's going to make sure that the mayor signs and we're going to receive that application on tomorrow, the coming Thursday. So all these provinces, Mpumalanga, they have submitted as well. We are looking into it. So there was a commitment from the MECs and the MMCs that were present on Thursday that they need to submit. So from where we are sitting, because we told them that we are not going, Minister told them that she's not going to underspend on the emergency housing grants, whereas there's all these floods that has been happening across the country. We need to respond to that. And on the chairperson's remarks, so when we are doing the stopping and reallocation, chairperson, we are not doing it on our own. We are doing it together with the National Treasury. The final approval lies with the Treasury. When we submit the request, National Treasury wants the adjusted plan to see that we are not giving them the money without the numbers. So when we are saying this is the additional funding, we request these provinces to give us the letters for requesting and which project and a plan, because we need to know that if we are taking 100 from Free State, then we need to get the numbers from the benefiting. So all these ones, before National Treasury approves, National Treasury wants those plans to say, give us the adjusted plan. When we go on our frameworks as well, we are saying outside the window of the submitting of the adjustment of the plans, however, if there is stopping and reallocation, we are expecting these provinces to submit the adjusted plan so that we can show that this money is not going to go to any other thing that we don't know, but we want this adjusted plan to give us the numbers. And there was a request from the chairperson that we need to submit a report on the term. Yes, we will do that. I've already requested the team that they need to produce us for this MTF period, the MTSF period. Then we need to submit for both the grants since the beginning of the MTF until 4 years, which provinces have suffered the stopping, and then which ones have received additional funding. We will submit that to via the office of the DG to the secretariat of the committee. And now I'm gonna go to I think on the Mangaung, the acting DG has responded to that. However, we are paying closer attention. We even, through the office of the minister, wrote a letter to the Free State province. We requested the province that we need the MEC together with the minister to allow through the MEC so that we can sit down. As technocrats, we need to lock ourselves in one room and come up with a solution because we don't want to lose the money back. But when we sent in the letter, that's when the then MEC now was moved to be a premier. There was a vacancy. But yesterday I had a chat with the chief of staff through the minister's office. I requested him to go and get, because they were sworn in the new MEC yesterday. I requested him to go and get the letter that we sent so that they can resend to the letter to the new MEC. Because we are not going to sit and wait for the funds to go back to the revenue fund. We are going to fight until the 31st of March so that we can save this fund. So we are waiting for that, but we are saying as national, that is the kind of support. The support that we are doing is not about the taking and stopping and reallocating, no. The support is sitting down and seeing, we look at the business plan. We look at what is actually happening on the ground. We have got a team of project managers. As I speak now, they are out. Since last week, we have been throughout the whole of Gauteng province. We are visiting all the informal settlements in Gauteng. We are visiting all the mega projects in Gauteng. We want to see what is actually happening when Gauteng are saying, this is a mega project. What is it that they're doing? I went to one in the East Rand, in the Clayville. So the team today, they've gone to Tshwane now because we've been going to all the regions across of Gauteng. So even if when we are doing support, that is what we are doing. And when we go, we want to see even the contractor. We don't want to go to a project that there is no contractor. If there's no contractor, we start asking questions. Then if there is a contractor, we ask questions as well. When I was present at the Clayville, there was a contractor, there was a project manager. So all of them, we go there, not wearing the suits because we are working the whole day. We go there, we sit in the boardroom on site. We don't sit to the offices. We go on site where the project is at. We sit down, we look at the entire plan for that particular region. We go each and every project. From that boardroom, we walk inside the project one by one. We look at the cash flows, we look at the deliverables, and if we find out that there's no project manager, we don't get answers, the CFOs, they attend together with the HODs and the DDGs. So we don't sit and then say, no, we are stopping, no, chairperson and members. That's as far as the support that we are offering. Yes, most of the provinces, they came in, as minister will say that Free State, they came in and said, we need capacity. Give us your acting CFO. But the minister said, but I cannot give you the acting CFO because you know the province, they'll say, we want a particular person, but because we cannot give you the acting CFO because also as we are having acting, we are having a vacancy. But as the DM has said that these vacancies will be done, then next year we will be able to go in from some of us here, we will be able to go in and assist all these provinces that will be wanting a specific person because we as a department will be capacitated. But what we are doing, we are looking at addition to the staff establishment as we can get other people with experience and they can go and assist all these provinces and the municipalities. And then the tenders that were awarded, Honorable Chairperson, yes, we are finalizing that report. I'm going to talk to the team and then we'll be able to submit it to the tenders that have been awarded to women, and then we will do that. Now, the chairperson went on about what is the contract that we are having? Is it the business plan? Yes, it's the business plan. But when you look at the grant framework, the grant framework is law. That's a legal document. The grant framework is gazetted, is approved by cabinet. When you look at the grant framework, it has got clear responsibilities of the receiving officers. Receiving officers, we are talking about the municipalities, we are talking about the metros, we are talking about the provinces. Then we have got the responsibilities of the transferring officers, which is us. If there is a transgression, we are holding each other accountable based on what the law says. When you look at the Division of the Revenue Act, it is clear. There's a chapter 14 and chapter 15, chapter 12, that talks to the receiving officers. So the act is clear. We don't need a contract that we can sign, but the act is clear. The act is saying, all the metros that are receiving the money, Schedule 4, which is the USDG, from the National Department of Human Settlements, these are your responsibilities. The grant framework is clear on the USDG, is clear on the I2PG. So if they are not doing that, we are holding them accountable because they are transgressing the law. Acting DG, I think I've covered all of the questions that were coming on my way. Thank you so much.
Good morning, Chair, and good morning, honorable members. It's Roshni Atkinson. Chair, I'm going to respond to the PDAs and the land rezoning, as well as touch on the business plans and just to maybe add to the last point the acting CFO was making about business plans. Chair, on the DDM and PDA initiative, yes, we are actively participating with the Department of Cooperative Governance. Chair, the DDM as well as the PDA were declared primarily on the basis that, remember, we were struggling with coordination and alignment across the various sectors. Simply put, where there were housing projects, there weren't services delivered. So you would find housing, a house built, but it doesn't have access to roads, it doesn't have access to water or electricity. So that is the problem that influenced the declaration of the PDAs. And the PDAs weren't declared simply because we wanted to align to the NSDF, but it was also declared on the basis that if we look at what's happening in these PDAs now, and given future growth and development trends, these are the areas that's going to make the biggest impact on people's lives, because this is where the greatest need of housing is. Although I need to state that it doesn't mean that what's outside of a PDA is not relevant. It's just simply implying that in these PDAs, if we want to make the greatest impact spatially, and we want to ensure integration, then in these areas, this is where we need to see the various sector departments, those mainly responsible for internal infrastructure to a household, and the bulk infrastructure, which the internal infrastructure sits with MIG, and the bulk infrastructure sits with your regional bulk infrastructure grant. So if we want to achieve maximum impact in these areas, then we need to ensure that these departments are working together with us in where our housing projects are being delivered. So this can't simply start at a stage where we're saying, here's a housing project, now come in and install. We have to work together to make sure that as we plan our housing projects, these services, that these departments are also sequencing their projects aligned to our housing projects. Yes, there are existing projects that we sit with in some of these areas where it still doesn't have internal infrastructure and bulk infrastructure. And these are the areas that we are zooming into. We want to understand in these areas, where is the location of your bulk water, your bulk sanitation? You know, the blanket statement that bulk is a problem, we have to really start separating what is bulk in terms of water and sanitation, because the projects that relate to that are not necessarily in the same area. So we're undertaking an exercise where we are mapping all of these big internal infrastructure projects, as well as your water and bulks, water and sanitation bulk infrastructure, together with our housing projects, both existing and planned. So provinces and the municipalities have to work with us. And that's where the DDM comes in, because the DDM is reinforcing the fact that we will not succeed in our silos to achieve what we want to achieve as integrated, sustainable human settlements. So we work very closely with COGTA. The first thing that we've done was that we've gone through the one plans that have been prepared for the DDMs. And we looked into what are those one plans saying about human settlements. And we discovered, in fact, we should be including what the problems are in our PDAs. So you'll find in these one plans, all of the PDAs that we've been declared is in this one plans, because it's giving specific direction of where we'd want to ensure that we're aligning and working with sector departments. So we're not working off a plan. We're actually saying within the Ekurhuleni PDA in the northern part of Ekurhuleni, here in this community is where we need bulk and we need internal infrastructure. So that's what the DDM is helping us to achieve, because it's bringing the local municipality together. It's bringing the hubs that have been set up in some of these districts. It's bringing the provinces together, as well as the other sector departments that are responsible. So, I mean, we're not just focusing on MIG and RBIC. There's also schools, there's also health facilities. So the DDM helps to bring those sector departments together. So yes, we are participating. We've inputted onto the DDM1 plans. There is area for improvement. And we ensure that, well, where there are some of the one plans have been weak, we want to make sure that we are supporting the department to strengthen that. I've mentioned the issue about the various projects and the grants. I think the challenge has always been that the grants that we need to make integrated settlements work sits in other departments. And so the mandates and the project pipelines for those projects are very different from what we would have as housing, as human settlements. So the idea is to bring these project pipelines together and really ensure that we're sequencing the flow of funding to these areas in a very informed way, that we know where the problem is. We know where the bulk is required, water and sanitation. We know where roads are required. We know where schools are required. We know where health. So that's the intention that we've set up a forum that we meet with the provinces, the relevant municipalities, and these sector departments on a quarterly basis to share what we are doing on the PDAs. So as in our MTSF target, we said we're going to develop 94 plans. These 94 plans, most of them are completed, so we will achieve this target. I think the unfortunate thing and the problem we're sitting with now is that these plans have to be endorsed by council, because you can't implement a plan that impacts on a local municipality if it's not being adopted by council. Now, of course, the challenge is in some municipalities that the change in leadership does affect how these plans and when these plans are approved. But the idea is that once these plans are helping us to ensure that we understand very specifically which of the sector departments we engage in and bring on board. What we found by doing the exercise of the plans for the PDAs is that in some of these PDAs, you find your block projects. So in these PDAs, it's not as if it's just new projects we're dealing with. We're also looking at the existing projects where it's blocked. And in a number of our priority projects, or previously known the catalytic projects, you find that there's projects that are blocked. And if we unblock that, will unleash a number of housing opportunities. So we're managing to zoom into those PDAs where there are these major priority projects. On the land rezoning, sorry, just to add to the projects, we're also working with Infrastructure South Africa. What we've discovered on the basis of the PDAs and the DDM is that Infrastructure South Africa is receiving a lot of private sector applications requesting for bulk funding, because through Infrastructure South Africa, they invite various stakeholders to make submissions about where private sector is experiencing challenges. And those that have been submitted for human settlements is mostly about the need for the private sector to request funding from government for bulk. Now, what we've said to Infrastructure South Africa is that and we've started mapping these projects in the Infrastructure South Africa pipeline. If you look at where private sector investments are going versus where public sector investments, there's a disjuncture in some of these areas. So we can't, the left hand has to talk to the right hand. Infrastructure South Africa has to work with us to ensure that as we bring the other sector grants together, it's not an easy job, because this requires engagement, negotiations with the departments to ensure that we are changing our priorities, we are re-sequencing our projects. So we've involved Infrastructure South Africa in this, and it's a very important stakeholder, because now we're trying to match your private sector with your public sector investments. So that's a big piece of work. And it brings me then to the point that Honorable Member made about the land planning unit. We have a director that's going to be starting in the next month or so to run this unit. And this person will be responsible for driving the PDAs. But they'll also be supported by the PRTs that we've got in place now. Well, I'm hoping that they would be appointed soon, so that then we have the capacity to ensure that what we're trying to do with the various sector departments and Infrastructure South Africa, we make it happen. So I understand the frustration that we're not seeing anything in PDAs, and it's not as if there's nothing being done. There's a lot of back office stuff that we have to get in place. And I'm happy to say that the capacity that I've wanted for this is going to be on board. And we just have to make it work. I think the other important stakeholder in this, and that has been helping us very, very closely, is Rural Development, Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development. They have what they call the National Spatial Information Act. And of course, now with the NSDF approved, the act and the plan, the NSDF go hand in hand. What they are assisting us to do is to map a lot of what we are identifying as projects across the sectors, and together with Infrastructure South Africa. We often don't talk about the GIS capability that's required for us to make this happen. We need to know that if we're talking about a PDA, where is it? So where are the coordinates? What does it look like? We need to then go into those PDAs, sit there and really do the planning. So this is what the GIS, what rural development is helping us on. But the other part is also, because they're also responsible for SPLUMA, they've really provided a lot of support in fast-tracking some of the land rezoning that has to happen in the PDAs. Over the last week, we managed to establish that besides what we've got in our MTSF period for the target of land rezoning, that in total, in PDAs, there's 4,615 hectares of land that had to be rezoned. So I'm not just looking at what the target for MTSF is, I'm looking in total of all of the land parcels that were acquired that had to be rezoned. And out of that, there's 3,985 that has been rezoned. So if we had to look at the MTSF period, we only literally have 600 hectares of land to rezone. But this effort wouldn't have come about if it wasn't for the support we got from rural development as well as the HDA. Chair, I think, yeah, just in terms of the business plans, I just want to make the point that we've received the business plans, and it's important to mention this because performance is based on what gets approved. Now, when we approve business plans, and in fact, it happened in the 22-23 financial year, we approved business plans late, not because we were delaying, but because The fact is that the provinces needed to show us how they're going to meet our MTS and MINMAC priorities. So we approved those plans late. And when we received those plans, they said, yes, it's 100%, we're going to contribute in this way. Our procurements are 100% ready. So in, the overall outcome was that all of the plans were approvable and we approved it. But then when the implementation of the plans actually happened, that's a different story. That's when you start seeing adjustments, because suddenly what was in the business plan is no longer relevant, or there's capacity that there's project management capacity, or contractors are not performing. And so these adjustments happen. Now, to arrest that, because we're saying even if we delay the approval, provinces are still going to give us what is compliant. But what we're doing now is we've assessed the business plans, the 23-24. We had an internal meeting in the department and we said, well, we're not going to approve these because we're still not achieving the MTSF target, even with what provinces are giving. So we are undertaking an exercise now to just isolate those provinces that we know haven't contributed significantly to the MTSF targets. On the MINMAC priorities, the asbestos, what we're seeing is very little allocations, about 175 million going to asbestos, mostly Free State, Limpopo, and Mpumalanga. Western Cape has indicated they don't have asbestos because they've resolved the problem. We said, well, give us a report to show how you've resolved the problem, because it's not good enough for us to see nothing in your business plan where we don't understand what has happened. So this is the exercise we're undertaking with the provinces now on the 23-24 business plans. But as I said, Chair, even if we approve these plans, provinces still go about making the adjustments. So what we're doing is we've got the PRTs that will be going out to the 9 provinces, taking the business plans that we have approved that have shown 100%, and ensuring that we arrest the adjustments that have to be made before they even have to. So if there's a need to adjust, let's understand the problem. Let's see if we can sort that out, because if you adjust, you're affecting projects, and projects ultimately are delivering to communities. So that's the exercise that we want to undertake, also to make sure that with the PRTs, we're then planning for the new financial year, which is 24-25. Chair, so I just thought that I would share that on the business plans. Thank you, Chair.
I thought Acting DC, you're going to follow.
Dr. Siopotso, informal sector.
Dr. Sokopo and Ms. Mloyi.
Good afternoon, Chair. Good afternoon, members. Good afternoon, Chair, and good afternoon, members and Deputy Minister, Acting DG. My name is Tshepiso Moloi. I'm going to be responding more on the issues around the blocked projects. I think DDG Atkinson has just talked to the asbestos program in terms of the planning, whereby it's only 7 provinces that have targeted for the asbestos, and most of the 7 provinces are in the scoping exercise in terms of determining the actual targets, but at least they have a plan for them, and those do appear within the business plans. Safe to say is that the Northwest and the Western Cape that have not planned, but I think she has talked to a large extent on that. With regards to the blocked projects, what the department had done was trying to ascertain the baseline. And with that particular baseline that was identified within the various projects, it was categorized in terms of projects that were at different stages but had not yet been, that were stuck. And at the time, it was concluded that there were 3,445 projects that were blocked. But after having done the assessment, it was then indicated by provinces on an overall that 2,800 of those projects have been closed. But the department is in the process of appointing a PRT in order to really assess whether those 2,800 projects are closed and completed, and therefore are no longer blocked. And that the procurement process is at an advanced stage, and hopefully in the next financial year, we will then be able to start the work of the assessment that needs to be done. So in essence, currently there are 619 blocked projects that have been identified as blocked, and those have been planned across the 2022-23 financial year to 2024-25 in terms of implementation. And what we have reported on is that of the units that were to be completed in the current financial year up until Q3, there were around 6,000 units. However, only there were around 15,000 units. However, only 6,900 have been delivered. So we are at around 45% of the delivery of those blocked projects in terms of units delivery. And in terms of the service sites, that is where most of the work has been completed, because 69% has been done currently. And therefore, overall, in terms of also those that are incomplete projects that were at completion stage, from 20,000 to 14,000 has been completed up to Q3, so 71% of the delivery. So in essence, the department has created the baselines, and now we do have targets across the provinces in terms of what should actually be done around the blocked projects. And as such, there is also a resource within the department that is dedicated to the monitoring of the blocked projects, and provinces are planning for them going forward. The mud houses and the destitutes, I think Deputy Minister did talk to that. There are only 7 provinces that are implementing the program of mud houses and destitute, but mostly within the rural provinces. Gauteng and the Western Cape do not have any targets in terms of the mud houses. And the Free State and Limpopo did not have any targets within the current financial year, but they have indicated that they will be implementing Free State 200 in the next financial year and Limpopo 500 in the next financial year. The mud houses, in totality, there are 9,760 mud houses that have been identified in the 2022-23 cycle, and of those, 84% has been delivered. I must indicate that currently what is happening is that there is no distinction in terms of mud houses, rural housing, and the destitutes. So the resource in the department that has been allocated to look at the mud houses is currently in communication with provinces to ensure that we are able to then indicate which exactly are mud houses that needs to be eradicated of the overall backlog, as well as for the destitute and the rural housing, so that we are then able to see, when we talk in rural housing, especially for those 3 rural provinces, what exactly it is that we are doing within the various baselines that come from the provinces. But currently 84% of what had been identified so far has been eradicated. Acting DG also requested me to talk to the Vulindlela program that deals with the coordination of the Vulindlela program in National Treasury, was to assist the department in terms of the title deed eradication program. We are at a stage where we dealt with the terms of reference between the department and Vulindlela, whereby we had to ascertain the roles and responsibility and clear understanding of the support that we'll be getting from Vulindlela. As we did that, we also had a meeting last week with the minister. It came across distinctly that Vulindlela will only be able to assist us with the coordination around provinces, as well as the research and data analysis. But overall, the responsibility in terms of us ensuring that we fast track in terms of the title deed program lies with the department. And I think the acting DG will then talk to a larger extent. I was just to highlight on the issue around the partnership with Vulindlela, which we have concluded. And in the next reporting phase, I think we'll then be able to talk more in terms of the delivery aspect from that particular arrangement. There was also an issue around the job creation that has been reported. Mostly the job creation is on project level and is cyclical. Hence, it is reported as temporary jobs, because it's per project and therefore is reported as far as the project is ongoing. So it becomes cyclical job employment based on a project by project level at the different provinces and different projects as they are being implemented. Thank you, Chair.
Dr. Sokobo?
It's not in the platform.
Let me proceed, Honorable Chairperson. I think the issue of the job creation has been covered, but safe to say that also the position we want to get into the point where at the planning stage and implementation of the projects, we need to know how many jobs will be created in what form. So that because like Ms. Mloy is indicating that these are job specific, so that we don't have to go and chase the number of jobs created when projects are already and being rolled out, are already at implementation level. So that is the way forward, that with the improvement that we want to have. And also then to include the other areas like Honorable Dr. Khumalo and the specifics that she wanted in terms of the jobs created. And also we want to, because when we get the information also upfront, we'll be able then to talk to the specifics, the sustainability, and so on. I must indicate that in terms of internally also, we are reviewing the services that we are outsourcing to look at the option of insourcing, specifically also to talk to the sustainability of those jobs created. For example, how we source for the cleaning services in the department. That is what we are reviewing currently, Chairperson. Just briefly on the implementation plan on the prioritized areas, we have agreed with the technical MINMEC that we need to prioritize the responses to the destitute cases, and also for the mud houses for those rural provinces, because these ones we can fast track them. They don't need much preparation as we are moving forward. Chair, let me also indicate that in terms of the implementation plan and the prioritization, we have also agreed as a sector that we need to improve on the quality of our business plans. More importantly, in terms of the state of readiness of those projects, we have made it clear that we are not going to be approving the business plans conditionally. So those business plans needs to be correct 100%. And those projects that are cited on those business plans, they must be ready to hit the ground so that there will be no delays in the implementation. The point on the PDAs, it has already been addressed. Let me also indicate, Chairperson, here that in addition, what transpired also from the MINMEC is that as a department, we need also to consider the multidisciplinary teams that is going to assist us in the rezoning of the land that has already been acquired in the previous MTSF period. So we are not only going to look at the HDA to assist us here, we need multidisciplinary teams so that we must run parallel processes in order to address this shortcoming that we have. Chair, in terms of the Mangaung, the team, the intervention in Mangaung, it comes from different departments. The official that was sent to Mangaung to represent human settlements, the failure of Mangaung is not necessarily rest on one individual on human settlements. It's a team intervention. I must indicate also here that Chairperson, the response, the turnaround of the entire team as a collective has not been to the level that it was anticipated. But we are aware of certain milestones that the intervention official that we sent to Mangaung has made, because we have had communication. So the current council now has also indicated, together with the Minister of Finance, that the intervention team now as a collective, their impact is not at the level that was anticipated. I think, Chairperson, lastly, is just to indicate that the performance of the sector as a whole, that's how we take it from national, provincial, and local government, that any failure or underperformance of each sphere, it affects all of us. So that's why we need to make sure that we assist each other to make sure that we are ready to improve on our priority. And the intervention turnaround plan for the last MTSF financial year is the one that we are prioritizing, looking at the MTSF targets, that where we are falling behind, how we can significantly make an improvement. Chairperson, I will end there. Thank you.
Chair, without disturbing you, I just want to come back to issue of asbestos that the Western Cape reported in the portfolio committee that there are no houses with asbestos in the Western Cape. But because I'm deployed there, I went there and I was phoned by people of the Western Cape to say, we are making a mistake to say there are no asbestos houses in the Western Cape. Delft has asbestos. I went there myself in the last term. Asbestos, we were shown by people that are staying there. And also Beaufort West, there are asbestos houses there. Part of Nyanga East, the old townships, honorable members, Langa and Guguletu, there are still houses. And I want to make another research, and I want to, if the members could assist me, those who could assist us in making sure that there are no, because we don't want not to count as a Western Cape as a province without asbestos, only to find people of Western Cape are complaining to us that there is nothing that we are doing on the issue of asbestos. So I will make my own research, Chair, and come up with the full report of which areas, because this is the list that I'm given by the people of the Western Cape, but I will come back to you, Chair, to confirm that indeed these houses have asbestos in the Western Cape. I thank you very much, Chair. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, TM and your team. Can I get the number if there is any follow-up? Honorable Tseki, at 12:30, I'm going to request you to take over if the meeting has not ended, because I will have to go into the bus. So is Honorable Tseki still on the platform?
It hasn't been for a while, Chair.
Okay, Honorable Squai, you'll do that, please. Can I check if there is any follow-up question? Well, thank you. I don't see any other hands. All the question has been responded to the satisfactory. But just this one, GM and acting CFO, you are indicating that the division of revenue, it's enough instrument for you to make provinces accountable. At some point, it's yourself who then says, there is nothing that we can do in the provinces because
We can't hear you, Chair.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes,
can
Can
hear you
members
now.
hear me?
Chair.
Yes, I'm saying that if the division of revenue is enough tool for you to make provinces accountable without going into the contract, and at some point you are raising the issues that provinces report to the premiers, that there is nothing that you can do when it suits the department, which becomes a problem. If the divisions of revenue is enough tool for you to make provinces and municipality accountable, why do you still have these problems? Because that's my worry. You like you listen to the acting DGG on the which was responding on the PHDA's response on the business plan. If the business plans, it's a tool, enough tool for you to make provinces accountable, why they are not actually fulfilling those mandate through your division of revenue. Acting CFO and GM.
You are right, Chair. 100% right. We are responsible, Chair. And you've made it clear in our previous meetings that if you give money to provinces, you must make a follow-up and monitor those monies. And I think maybe the way it was put by Lucy, because we can't say we have nothing to do after we've given money to. That's why, Chair, we have these platforms of the other one is today, which is going to monitor whether the reasons why are not utilizing the money. Maybe Lucy did not mean that way, maybe should correct it. I've heard it the way you've had Ulusi. And I even made my own comment that I know when we give money to provinces and municipalities, it is our duty as national to make sure that those monies are utilized. And I remember, Chair, in the many previous meetings, you were saying you have a duty as national. But sometimes, Chair, the reason that they are giving us, it's petty. Like, I want to make an example of disasters, that in most cases, in municipalities where they don't submit applications on time and then they don't utilize money for emergency, it's a question of capacity of municipalities, Honorable Chairperson, which also we are trying by all means, Chair, that we meet with the mayors, like today's meeting, where we're going to meet with the mayors to say, and MMC for human settlements of the municipalities, to say, why are you not using the money? Because we try by all means, Chair, and fill the gap where there's a gap in terms of the capacity. We work together. That is why there's DTM, Chair. We can't say it's not our problem. It is our problem to make sure that the money is utilized. But we are trying by all means as this department. We as Lucy in her presentation, that we go now. We go to provinces. We were last week. I said David said I want to go actually the chairperson that we were in KZN. The reason why we went to KZN, we want to check whether this money that we're giving is utilized. We are going to, tomorrow, we're going to Port Elizabeth or Nelson Mandela. Also, it's a kind of monitoring that we want to do to them. Check the obstacles, the red tapes. What is the problem? Why are you not? It is our problem as national to check, because we are called by strategy. I remember last time we were called by strategy, and strategy was very angry with us to say, these people are not called most of the time, Chair. people that are called in strategy are politicians. It's us. And they ask, why is the money not used by provinces? So we've got to make sure that we go to provinces and fill the gaps. If there's an issue of capacity, we need to work together with COGTA and check. We have a new minister of COGTA now, and check what is the problem. Why are we not utilizing the money? It's the issues that we raised in our MINMEC chair. We had a MINMEC last week, and those issues were raised in the MINMEC. SALGA also attended that MINMEC. We are also referring to SALGA to say, what is the role of SALGA? If municipalities are struggling to utilize the money, we need all of us come together as DTM and make sure, because we want to say this term of this allocation of money, we want to make sure that those municipalities and provinces that are lagging behind, they get assistance from national. I will allow Lucy, maybe we had her wrong, maybe she will correct it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, DM. I think I need to rectify the question that was asked. Let us separate the issues. Now, the question that was asked, what is the department doing to assist with the procurement of the municipalities? That's when I spoke about a separate sphere of government. For example, the metro has got the mayor and the council because they deal with the administration. That's the procurement. That's the space that, according to the law, we are not supposed to be indulging on. So the answer was not talking about our monitoring. I was responding to the question that was put forward by Honorable Sutlai to say, why can't we assist the metros and the provinces with procurement? The act is clear. We do our own police as a national department. As a national department, we need to have our own police committees, supply chain procurement committees. We cannot take the other people from the other spheres of government to form part of our procurement policies. That was the response that I gave to. The same as the provinces, the act is clear, the procurement preferential policy. Each and every department, they must have their own procurement policy. So DM and Chairperson, that was my response. Now, when it comes to the division of the Revenue Act, our responsibilities are clear. There is a chapter there that talks to the responsibilities of the transferring officer. Number one, on top of section 12, section 10, we need to certify to National Treasury that our monitoring system is working and is clear and is understood, because monitoring is the crux of the work of the transferring officer. So we are moving away from the administration now, because the answer that I gave was talking about procurement is administration and it's got its own regulations. Now we are talking about the management of the grant. Now we are on DORA. DORA says there's responsibilities of the receiving officers, there's responsibilities of the transferring office. When you look at the grant framework, it is clear. What are our responsibilities? Our responsibilities, as the DM has said, it is clear. It is our work to support these people, the provinces and the metros. It is our work to monitor on a monthly basis. It is our work to find out what is actually happening and assist. So maybe I was not understood because I was answering the other question, but the revision, the division of the revenue, DORA is clear. Our grant frameworks are clear. There is a conditions that we put in there to say we are expecting. Number one condition when you open the grant framework is the flow of the funds is conditional on the approval of the business plan. If the business plan is not approved, we are not transferring money. And Treasury again on the DORA, that's saying, apologies, we need to certify to them that all the plans that we need as per the framework from all the receiving officers has been submitted to us before we can even do any other thing. So our work, yes, I agree with DM. We go into details because that is our work and it is legislated. By law, we are supposed to be doing that. So the answer that I was talking was when Honorable Sutlai said we need to assist them with the procurement, to say the Preferential Procurement Policy Act of 2000 does not allow us That was the response. So I think I've clarified it, that answer, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Acting CFO and the DM. That debate will take it forward to the next time because what you are saying, it's not convincing, says Lucy. Thank you very much, honorable members and DM and the team. And we want to thank the department for having presented the third quarter and the fourth quarter, which shows the progress. And we are asking this question because we want you to excel and do better in your work. And it doesn't mean that as we ask this difficult question, we don't appreciate the good job that we are doing, DM and your team. We can see that there is a lot of improvement, and we welcome that. And thank you very much for attending, and the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Koliswa.
Hello, Chairperson.
I see you sending message.
No, I was saying it's second and third, Chairperson, not fourth
Oh,
quarter.
sorry. Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Second and third quarter report. I'm sorry. Thank you for that, Koliswa. That was the last agenda, Koliswa. Sorry for just closing the meeting appropriately.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Yes, Chairperson, it was.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, Chair.
Thank you.